If you were advising whatever presidential administration is in office, what would be your triage? What would you recommend that they do immediately?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, so I do have somewhat of a canned answer to that. So I would do four things. My four-part plan would be as follows. The first thing is, and this is going to sound a little strange perhaps, but we need to give responsibility for our immigration system to a different agency. Isn't it telling that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, runs our immigration system? What does that tell you in terms of how we think about immigration? The agency that is
Mhm.
here to protect us has to protect us from immigrants, and that's the agency that's in charge. And so I would give it to say either create its own agency or maybe Department of Commerce or Department of Labor, Department of Agriculture, because then you have regulators who are trying to build something for us, manage immigration, rather than regulators who are just trying to protect us, right? It's the fear, right? It's getting away from the fear message. So that would be number one. Number two is we have to increase the number of green cards and temporary work visas that we give by a lot. The last time we updated this was in 1990. The economy was 9 trillion in size back then. It's 25 trillion in size today. So we've more than doubled our economy, right? But we're giving visas at the level of a 1990s economy. I mean, think about that. We weren't even sending email in 1990, right? So we just need to increase that by a lot, double or triple probably.
Okay, I was going to ask, what's the percentage here? What's a lot?
Yeah, I you know I no, I don't think anybody honestly can tell you this is exactly how much we need, but there have been
Yeah.
studies showing that if we double and triple the number of visas, we would continue to do just fine. Just look at, and this is not so hard to estimate. For example, we know that we give only say 85,000 H-1B visas per year, but companies demand over 500,000 per year. So we already have a good sense of what the demand is, right? We know, for example, the shortages in farm workers. We know, yeah. So anyway, so it's you can reasonably come up with a good estimate, but it's at least double what we do right now, right? Because the economy has more than. And so number two is just increase the number. Number three would be that we need to increase the variety of entry paths, particularly on the economic side. Right now, two-thirds of our green cards go to family reunification, and only 15% go for employment based. So we just need a lot more employment based, but we also need a greater variety of employment-based entry pathways. Right now, if 135,000 of the 140,000 go to people with bachelor's and master's degrees, it means that we're not servicing the low-skilled sector, right? Like farms, et cetera. So we just need a lot more pathways. And then part number four, and I think this one is really critical to prevent a lot of political fighting, is that we need to have provisions to update the system much more frequently. In the last 100 years, in fact, in the entire history of the United States, there have been really only three major reforms that change the number of immigrants we allow in. One in 1924, one in 1965, and one in 1990. And so what happens is when you set the quotas for the next 40 or 50 years, over time, the divergence between reality and the system becomes so large that you get these political fights that we're having right now. And they become so insurmountable that we never get to comprehensive reform. So instead, we should be updating every, I don't know, at a minimum every 5 years, probably even more often than that. And so that would prevent us from diverging too far from what our country needs. So anyway, those would be the first four big things I would do. There's of course a lot of detail behind that one has to flesh out.